Welcome to Flow Getter. It's me, Lisa Westby, and her, Erica Tafoya. Hi, Erica.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi.
Awesome.
Today's topic is death. 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 Okay. Why is today's topic death? Because today is the 30th anniversary.
It is the 30th anniversary of the death of my mom. And I keep forgetting in a good way.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind. So it's interesting because, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Actually, I know you have thoughts on this because of the way that you and your husband live, which I so admire so much. So anniversaries of really any sort of thing, on one hand, I feel like are great as to serve as sort of a reminder, a reflection, if that's how people want to use them. On the other hand, I don't put a lot of stock. It's like, and it makes me feel better. It's not like I want to wait all year to just this one day I get to reflect and celebrate, whether it's a birthday or an anniversary or whatever. I feel like every day is kind of a celebration of all of it. You know, it's not like, oh, this one day now, only on one day a year, I'm going to open myself up to trying to connect with my mom. I mean, I connect with her all the time.
Yes.
And so what I found interesting is, I'll get text messages, especially, I haven't gotten a lot today, but, I used to get a lot on the anniversary of her death, or even like cards in the mail and things like that, which are very thoughtful. I know other people are probably wanting to use that day as a day of reflection, but I personally, I don't know, for me, it feels like every other day in a good way, not in like a Groundhog's Day kind of way.
Well, okay, I have a lot of questions, and I will inform our audience. So one thing to know about Erica Tafoya is that she communicates with the other side. And Erica, I've known you for quite a while, and most people having the experience that you had, which we can go into later, would maybe take a more traditional experience with that is, or, I'll say normal in the sense that we think people just kind of, somebody dies, they're sad, they mourn, and that's that. You've had a completely different experience in some ways at a certain point. I'm sure that you had, a more regular experience when it happened. But what we're going to get into today, I think, is how I have like 55 questions to ask you, is like sort of your perspective on that whole experience and all the different ways you responded, and responded differently than most people, how you connect with the other side and what that looks like for you. And, and there'll be like infinite questions after that, but those are sort of the two big things on my mind. And just to cover off on the point you said about not specifically celebrating anniversaries. So what Erica meant by that, I think, is, or whoever I'm talking to, what I think you meant by that was we have forgotten our marriage anniversary like every year. Like someone will text us at like 4:00 in the afternoon, like, happy anniversary. We're like, oh, it's today's anniversary.
I love it.
Because we live like we're just got married basically every day. Like we're just so into it. And we don't do gifts. I don't even remember the last time I got a gift. I think I'm wearing the last gift that I got like 15 years ago or so. Like we just, we'll buy ourselves stuff, but like it's a whole different thing. And I think it's because you don't want the pressure of like, am I supposed to love you 85 times more today or do more things, where it's like I'm full on the whole time. If I'm gonna do something, I do it. And so I'll forget people's birthdays. I only remembered yours because I checked some bank balance. I was like, it came up in my calendar. And you're like my, dear, dear friend. So anyway, that's a side note. So let's get back to the death. Death. Okay. So two things. How was your response totally different? And then let's talk about how your relationship with your mom is now that she's non-physical, and how you communicate. So lay it on us, Tafoya. Go.
Okay. And the pre I just wanted to really quick, before I forget, comment on what you just said about your anniversary with your husband. And I love it. Like I don't, I couldn't love that aspect more because you're right. Every day is a celebration. I think that's how every day should be. It's beautiful. Okay. So maybe a little background on how my mom died and when she died. So I was 60, it was 30 years ago today. Today is December 18th. And it was 5 days after my 16th birthday. And she was actually, she worked for the government. And so we were living in Montana at the time, and she was in South Dakota for 2 months doing some trainings, training some folks there. So she was gone for quite a while. And it was actually on her way back home the week before Christmas. She was on a little Cessna airplane, and the plane crashed. And the plane crashed like a mile and a half from my house. And it happened. It was a Friday evening. She was supposed to have come to, I was a cheerleader in high school. So she was, she was supposed to have come to the basketball game, but she didn't come. My dad wasn't there. So I was a little, curious. And there were rumors going around about a plane crash. It just happened very close to the, school. So anyway, so that happened, and it was a very surreal experience. And I grew up Catholic, went to Catholic school. My parents had also grown up Catholic. So that's kind of what they knew. And they were young parents when they had us. They were in their early 20s when they had me and my brothers. And so that's sort of what they knew. And so it was comfortable for them, but they weren't overly, what's the word? They weren't like overly religious. They weren't conservative kind of, it was, we went to church some Sundays and some not. Anyway, point being, that's what I had. I had Jesus, and I had, kind of this religion when that happened, which I will say probably saved me in large part, because I was able to really hold on to some sort of belief about the afterlife. And so it was good. And my 16-year-old brain was like, oh my God. So that happened. So, but then, a year later, I guess. So in Catholicism, there are 7 sacraments, I think, or Christian. I don't even know. I don't remember, but I think and probably some people know this, but anyway, the confirmation was supposed to happen the following year, my junior year of high school. And up until that point, I had just kind of gone through all the things. I was baptized. I did the, Holy Communion. I did all the things. But when confirmation came around, post my mom's death, I really started questioning, like, wait, this doesn't make sense to me. I started kind of opening myself up to more, what I wasn't taught via the church. And so, the next, 20 years, I think I probably just lived in a fog, in sort of this, I ditched religion, but I also didn't pick up any of what I feel like I now have. It was just sort of this 2 decades of living my life and really being in the third dimension, and really just, struggling with relationships, kind of, there was a lot of struggle, a lot of sadness, a lot of unconsciousness. I kind of say I lived in a fog for, that whole time. Then I moved, and I wasn't living where I live now, which is where I met you, Lisa, in Denver. Then I moved here to Denver, and I met you along with a group of women, where we worked. And this was the turning point for me. Everybody had their own special expertise and getting superpower with some form of the metaphysical, new agey stuff. Really, really cool. And it opened my eyes and my mind like tenfold. I was just like, whoa, I always knew that my mom was, I saw signs throughout life that she was around, but it was literally, and I'm not kidding, it was literally the day. So this is what happened one day. Lisa was driving. She lived in Boulder, a town like an hour away. And she was driving to work one morning. She gets to work and she's like, oh, hey, by the way, me and the dead people in the back seat, we're all singing this tune. And it popped in my head, wait, maybe I should ask Monday, who that was my mom's nickname, maybe I should ask Monday if there's any message she wants me to bring to Erica today. It was just so like, like normal. Like we all talk to dead people, don't we?
Yes.
It was awesome. So she comes over and she's like, and I just got feathers. And my entire being just froze because I knew exactly what she was talking about. And this was the first time I'm getting goosebumps now. Just
I know. I totally got goosebumps.
sorry.
I'm like, hi, Monday. She's here with us
Yeah,
today.
she's totally here.
Hey, girl.
And I, so there was a period leading up to, I got married when I was 32, something like that. And there was a period, like maybe a 6-month period prior to that, that I was seeing feathers everywhere. I mean, it was so not normal and bizarre, like piles of feathers in just random places. Like I would be walking to my car in a parking lot and there'd just be like a pile of feathers right outside my car. And just like in weird spots just to get my attention. And I remembered it, but it was one of those things because I didn't know and I was living in an unconscious life that I didn't bother trying to dig too much deeper. But I did remember that I was seeing all of those things. And when you said feathers, I knew instantly, oh my God, she was really so many things. Just over time, I realized so many things. Like one, she was really trying to get my attention to let me know that she was there with me, like she was with me, because she knew that I wasn't happy. And she knew kind of what I was getting myself into getting married. And she knew all of the things that were, so
she knew I was a crazy person who would talk to her.
And she knew Lisa was the right person to choose. Awesome. So that was really a turning point for me where I started to learn how to meditate, how to reconnect with her in a more conscious way. Not just reconnect, but connect more fully. And it was so beautiful. So that was like 10 years ago. And the journey I've had since then has been more and more and more. And we've developed a language with one another. And here's what's cool about it for anyone who's lost a person, or even if you haven't, what I've recently realized is even when there's like a physical distance of a person who's still in their body here, you can still develop a language. That's what this, what is it called?
Non-physical, psychic.
Yeah.
The field.
Telepathic communication.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever, whether it's a non-physical or a physical, you can kind of develop a language between you and this other energy. And so for me, the color green, it's more, and it's kind of there are specific colors that show up, like the metallic green and then a Kelly green. Those two are when she really needs to get my attention. That's how it shows up. But then all shades of green remind me of my mom. And then words, numbers, songs. Oh my gosh, there's certain songs I can't even listen to without, tears because I know. But numbers, like the number 18, 1218 shows up all the time. It's like every day I just accidentally look at the clock at 1218. It just happens all the time.
And she's like, hey girl.
Yes.
You're like, hey.
Yes. Or like I'll be at work, doing some sort of coding thing that requires some math and it ends up being 1218, or whatever it is. It's just all the time. And so what's so fun about that is like knowing that you can develop this and trusting and just sort of deciding. It doesn't even have to be like a question mark, which I think a lot of us question. Was that real? Is that not? Is it, like the pictures with the orbs, the green orbs?
Yep.
Some people will say, no, that's just a reflection. And my take on it is a reflection. And it's also my mom. And you can look at it however you want, but point being like, just it's super fun to connect with the non-physical.
Yes. Well, I want to ask you right when you're talking about this, can you tell the story of the days where you're like, Erica will text me, I've been talking to my lamp and the ceiling fan. This is the text I get, right? And I'm like, under normal circumstances, most people are going to call Bellevue and be like, please go pick up the phone. I'm like, oh yeah, she's talking to Monday. Okay, fine. But I want to hear these because you have so many stories of talking to various appliances. It's appliances too. It's not just lights, but I think there's been some other appliances in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you want to share a couple of those? Do you remember them even?
I don't know. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, and here's the thing. What I've noticed about connecting with the non-physical. It happens when I'm in an elevated state or heightened state of joy. It's almost like my vibration was raised to a level where I was able to meet them where they already are.
Yes. And that's the headline. That's the tip for everybody right there is if you want to start doing this, it's getting to that spot because frequency A, frequency B, and you have to kind of get closer to it. Is that?
Yeah. Okay. That's been my experience. Every time I've had, it's like I'm having a good day, I'm in a good space, and all of a sudden lights will start flickering. And I'm like, oh, hi, let's hang. Hey guys.
Hey.
I'm here too. So yeah, and they're oh my gosh, these lights have flickered, my bathroom lights have flickered. And it's fun because I'm still learning, of course, as we always are. But sometimes it feels like it's just hey, we're here to party with you. We can tell you're in a good place and we're just here to say, and we're here too. And other times it's more of a, hey, we're just here to let you know of something like whatever. Maybe I'm getting ready to go out and they're just like, hey, not like a warning, but more like a, we're with you. If I don't know, just know that we're with you. Or whatever,
We're also going on this date with you. Slightly creepy. But yeah.
But we'll be watching.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Yeah, like that. Well, and you also had one where you were doing something at work and the light was essentially trying to tell you something that if you said you'd slowed down or taken a minute, you would have not. That one.
Oh my gosh, you're totally right. I forgot about that one. Okay, yes, there's another. You're right. So I can't remember exactly. You're totally right. I was doing something work related and I was kind of moving quickly through it and the lights started flickering. And it was like every time I was doing the thing, it would flicker or what I can't remember specifically.
Yeah, it was something like if you just take a breath, you would notice that this code is messed up or you forgot to, I think it was something.
That's code. You're right. Yeah. It was like I couldn't figure out the solution to this thing and I was getting frustrated and lights are flickering. and then finally when I figured it out or whatever, it was the simplest fix, I think, or something, or I can't remember, or maybe I wish I could remember.
It was some kind of duh or
it was like yeah. And exactly. It's like, well, if I had just slowed down and tried to really tune in, I could have heard the message, but I didn't. I was just sort of like, yeah.
So the other side is like calling me and I am just so busy.
I'm not picking the phone up. I'm too busy. Too busy to talk to the dead people.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's choices we make. It's fine. Yeah. So you're saying that, okay, so for sort of since whatever year that was, that you're getting more and more of this understanding. And it also sounds like it's a feeling because it's not just devices and electrical things, songs, because it's like when you know, right?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
When you know. I mean, even when we were both just talking, we literally, I was like, I got goosebumps. And then you said I got goosebumps. I'm like, your mom's here. And so I want to ask you, is it largely, it sounds like it is, but just to confirm, it's largely this very subtle energy, like it's a song, the song's playing. And maybe the song has its manipulative flat notes to make you all emotional or whatever. But it's just this extra level of feeling and knowingness that comes along with it. It's not just, okay, lights flickering, that song, it's this, there's a layer of feeling with it that you're like, no, it's her.
Yeah. You know what? That's perfectly said because you're right. It's almost like, there's a saying that I think of sometimes, the silence is deafening, where when you really get into the quieter spaces, it's like, whoa, that's so obviously this thing, this energy, this, but when there's a lot of noise, it's hard to really hear, or hard to really tune in, because there's just so much chaos going on. And I think a lot of us live our lives in, chaos, more chaos than not chaos. And so it's harder for us to hear those, like you're saying, those subtle things that really are so powerful. It's like it's almost like the irony. There's quickness in the slowness. There's there's loudness in the silence. And so it's you're right. It's a when you start to learn how to tune into it, and you kind of create a habit out of it, then you can more easily pick up on it, even when there is more noise around. There are times when it was just on a date I went, and got in the car, and there's one song above all the other songs that come on. It's the Goo Goo Dolls song Iris, and which I know exactly, like it's like from the 90s. Yeah. And yet for me, it plays on these modern radio stations, at the perfect times. And it's basically, it's the theme song, I think, or it was a song in a Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan movie.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to attempt singing it now, but I know it.
Yeah, and it's
something like that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's it. And it's like the first line is like, oh my God, waterworks. But but anyway, point being, it's like when she really wants to get my attention, like that song's going to come on the radio.
Right.
And
I have more questions.
Oh, go.
More questions. Okay. So 1, other family members, and 2, so we'll talk about them. The other thing is how do you feel? Like, I feel like your connection with your mom and the other family members and other non-physicals, because we have those too, or maybe they're non-physicals. They might be interdimensionals, they might be dead, we don't know. Maybe but it's like, how have you changed as a person because of this ability and connection that you have? So remember, we have the 2 groups of people we got to talk about, and then this question, like, how have you changed? Pick one.
Okay, 2 groups.
So many questions.
So the other non-physicals you're asking about?
Well, it's sort of like, how have you, let's go with now that we're talking about the Goo Goo Dolls.
Okay.
Right? It's all emo, which, with that music, but I know you love it. Okay. Feelings, no. Gross. Okay. Feelings are grody.
For a future podcast.
Feelings. For a future we're going to talk about why feelings are gross. Just kidding. Why you should never have them. So no, but in all seriousness though, how have you, with this connection, how have you grown as a person, and how might not you have grown if you weren't tuned into this? Like, what's the value?
Oh my gosh, this is huge. Thank you. The number one thing that has changed my whole outlook in life, and has so relieved me of so much fear, is the idea that life goes on. In other words, even in death or transition, or to me, it's more of a transition, or just a ending of one part of your life and a beginning of a new chapter kind of thing. Because I so deeply believe that, it has allowed me to let go of so much fear. Because I think there is, when you don't believe that there's anything after this, or even if you believe there is, but you're going to be judged somehow on how you live this life, or this life matters so much more than anything happened before or after it. When you believe those things and you put that much pressure on yourself to live the kind of like a Jesus kind of life, which, why not?
Or any life. Yeah.
Any life, right? Any life.
I put my pressure self on all that. Like, oh my God, cling. I for sure do. Yeah, I'm really bad at this death thing. So we'll talk about that.
Yes, I really want to hear, because I think your perspective will resonate with a lot of people. So
but let's keep going, because it's too fascinating. Okay. So you've lost the fear, and we'll talk about all the problems the rest of us have later. But right now, so you sort of shed this attachment and fear, and getting the continuum of self out of this.
Yes. Okay. So because of that, exactly, there's a continuum of self. And so it's interesting because you can go, and on one hand, it's almost like the richness of this life becomes even more rich, ironically, which I know doesn't really make sense, but it also lightens the load for me, because it's like, oh, I made a mistake, and okay, I get to learn. And even if I don't fully, grasp the whole thing in this lifetime, I get infinity amounts of tries. And like I get to try and try and try and try until I get it. And it's cool. And it doesn't prevent me from trying to be a better person as often as I remember to do that, because I mean, I'm human and we all go unconscious here and there. But I do feel like it's more fun. I feel like now I'm able to play with life more versus taking it seriously. I don't take it too seriously.
You're not all tense.
No, yeah. It's allowed me to just feel that. It's like, whatever, this is fun now. It's yay.
Yay.
Oh, we got in the car. Also... whatever. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Okay, I've noticed that from the outside, you having this connection has not only made you more peaceful and less fearful and more connected to the all that is and all they and all this kind of stuff. I've also noticed that there's a confidence that comes with it. And it also allows you, like, as you said before, I've noticed that you take time to really think about your life, the good things, the less fun things. You take a minute and you're like it's a partner with you in creating space from automatic, unconscious, go. It's like another partner in that, because some people, whatever they do that works for them, this is like a huge part of it. And then to segue into this, you also then have expanded your awareness with other family members. Even my husband's father died last year, and you were able to connect with that. So we could almost charge money for this. Can people call Erica? No, but it's like you're, and then you had some interdimensionals, I think, or were they? I don't know if they were spirits of the deceased or interdimensional people. And we can explain what that means when we get there. But let's talk about your deceased family first.
Okay, that's super fun.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God.
So fun. So, okay, let's see, where do I start? Okay. So my grandmother, my mother's mother, who I knew, and lovely, like just this wise, hilarious. I feel like she would have fit right in with you and me. She was very funny and so adorable and super wise. And, but she kind of just embodied that wisdom in a way that just a sweet woman. Anyway, she passed on.
I'm gonna party with her.
Oh, and here's
like right now I'm like, okay, I just
she's
love her
here.
already.
Actually, I know she's here, and here's why. Here's what's amazing just now, what I realized. You're wearing green. I'm the color of my grandmother. And this was completely unintentional. I'm just saying.
Totally. We just sweatshirted.
Just sweatshirted. Yeah, this is completely but point being, so she came through. I was living with a former partner, and Tanner, my son, was living with us. And in his room, he had curtains that were this color. And I remember one day we came home. It was like in the early evening. We came in the garage, and it was an unattached garage. So we came in the garage, drove in, and they were walking from the garage to the house. And right on the outside of the house, it smelled like my grandmother. I know that smell, like my grandmother's, so I was like, oh, she's here. Awesome. So we went inside, and I know, like, when it comes to, for me, the way it works when it comes to, people or energy that's trying to connect from the other side, they'll give you clues. They'll kind of pop in to remind you of them. And then they'll go with it. They'll like try to show you things that's where you create the language between the two of you, and you start to know things. So for me, the smell happened, made me think of my grandmother. we went inside, and later that evening, as I was tucking Tanner into bed, I looked up and I saw before that, sorry. Previous to that, I realized the smell, because I had to go back and forth to the garage a couple times to grab things. I realized the smell was literally just the perimeter of the house. It was only around the perimeter of the house. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I realized, oh, this serves, she's letting me know that she's here protecting. She's just here serving as a protective energy. So, tucking him into bed that evening, and his curtains, which were an odd color because his room it was like a totally different color, but the curtains were this color and nothing matched the curtains. But I looked up and they just popped out at me. Curtains were covering the windows, kind of more protection. And I realized, okay, that's a color she's going to show up as. And it made so much sense to me because she really enjoyed red wine. That was like, she really did. And I also, when I think of like the things that are of this color, there's a certain class and sophistication and kind of not old fashioned, that's not the word, but sort of almost like a older generation type of feeling to get. So it made that all kind of like downloaded, like, okay, this is her color and it makes sense to me because there's a richness, it's just a strong, and her, along with being wise and hilarious, she was also very kind of had this tribal kind of loving energy, very protective, similar to my mom, very strong, very
and like mother bear.
Yeah. Like, but what's funny is that's what I had heard my dad always talk about when it came to my grandmother. I never saw that really. Like he talked in more of a, she had a very strong, like in a way that felt almost sometimes overbearing, sort of, but I never got that from her until she passed on.
Ooh.
And I felt that strong, protective, like energy, and it was like, oh, I get it now. I understand what you're talking about. And so
when you're saying the feeling too, it's not just you saw all this stuff. Like there's like an inner knowing.
There's an inner knowing. I think it's interesting because for me, when if I given, sometimes you'll see these psychics who will ask questions in order for information to start to flow. It's not like you can just some people can do this where they just go and someone is just so open to the information that everything just happens. But for me, it's like, there's like a breadcrumb process where I kind of need a little information and then more will come. Yeah. And so because my dad had told me those, stories about my grandmother in a loving way, and even though I didn't see it in the human form, I started to really feel it in the non-physical.
Yeah. And you recognized it.
I recognized it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I'm babbling, but like oh my God, you've just opened the floodgates.
Well, I wanted to add to it too, that you're bipping along. You're not looking for this. You're bipping along. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, grandma again. Like you're not, I need to be a psychic person and I'm going to look for stuff and talk. Like, as long as I've known you, you're not the kind of person that needs to be anybody but yourself. Like you're not trying to make yourself do something so you can have more of something. So it's not like you're out looking, I gotta always be aware of the things. And like, you're just sitting there and it's like, it kind of comes at you somehow, which I think sort of shows that there is a relationship trying to get made from the other side because it's coming to you. You're manifesting it to yourself. You're not on the hunt. Because it's fine if people are on the hunt. I'm not trying to diss that. I'm just saying you specifically are just like, blah, blah, and then all of a sudden, oh, I just talked to someone from another dimension today. Or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, more stories.
Right. Okay. God, I have so many, but we could go on. But okay, let me get back to the story because, really quick, just what you said, because I don't forget. You're right. I think that speaks to the idea, and just in general, not just trying to connect with the other side, but just as life in general. When I always look at like, when you're laser focused on something, trying to make things happen, if you think of a laser, like you're actually kind of pushing it away. But if you're not hyper focused on the thing and you just sort of allow and you go live your life and be happy, you're more open to receiving. And so that's kind of how I look at it, where I think that if I was trying too hard to connect, I would probably have a more difficult time. But because I do notice there have been times when I'm like, I want to, and then nothing's happening. But why? It's because I'm like pushing it away with my hyper focus, with my Star Wars laser. Bye-bye. But anyway, okay. So
it's a huge point. It's like a whole other podcast. Thank you.
So
keep going.
Okay, so 2 more stories, and I'll try to not because oh my God, you just
we'll take as long as you want to.
I love this topic.
I just know that you have 2 teenage boys in your house that eventually are going to start. It's going to be like Lord of the Flies if you don't get out there. Like I've got a lot of time. My dog's still asleep, but.
So on the topic of my grandmother, well, let me go to so my mom's, this is all my mom's side of the family. My mom's side of the family, I had, I never met my grandfather. And then my mom had like 6 siblings, and there is a energy that runs through that side of the family that's very fiery.
Fuerte.
Wait, what you said?
Fuerte, which means strong.
Fuerte, totally. Yes. Fuerte is perfect. Exactly. And because you've felt it from my mom alone, like that's like my whole family.
Oh yeah.
And you've seen me. I mean, you know me, and I have this fiery sort of personality at times. And so that there's a strong energy there. And then there's a lot of them. Like a lot of them have passed on. So
there's like a fleet.
There's a fleet. Okay, so maybe not most people, but a lot of you may know the Red Hot Chili Peppers song Under the Bridge. Okay,
yes.
So this song has been around since like the early 90s, I believe. Forever. And I have heard this song literally everywhere I go, to the extent to which once I started, and I know because
I'm sorry. Okay.
Right, this is how I felt. I'm like, I don't like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I have zero interest. Why does this keep following me around? And once I started to become more conscious, I was like, okay, there's got to be a meaning behind this. Like what is going on? And I swear it's this like, oh my God. So one day, it was in the last year, because I went through a breakup, and it was hard. It was very difficult. So that kind of pushed me into this more thoughtful kind of space where I was really asking all sorts of questions. So of course the song comes on over and over, and I'm like, why? And I the lyrics are like about, overdosing in like LA under a bridge, almost dying. I'm like, this does not resonate. I've never overdosed. I don't do drugs. Like what?
You don't even go under bridges.
I don't go under bridges, and I don't really like LA. Not that I spent much time there. WTF. So I'm in the car, song comes on, and I happen to be right behind a license plate, a New Mexico license plate. So my whole family is from New Mexico.
Key point.
Okay, key point. So there's a license plate. If you've ever seen the New Mexico license plate, or one of the versions has a red chili pepper on it.
Are you kidding?
Nope. And so I'm like, oh,
hey.
Okay, so red hot in the sense of the emotional, fiery, fuerte chili peppers. I'm like, red hot. I'm getting goosebumps. Oh my God, they're all here right now. Red hot chili peppers. Oh, they're super here. Holy cow, it's very strong.
Do they have a message?
Let's see. Oh, they're laughing. They're just laughing because they're like, yeah, it's like a party all the time with them.
It's Dia de los Muertos, todos los días. Oh yeah, we're just going all night.
They're like, let's party. So I'm like, oh my God, and it clicked. So the other part, so Los Angeles means the angels, right? So the song it's a city of angels. It references it, like the only friends I have right now is the city of angels. And I'm like, oh, so many goosebumps happening.
I know, I'm getting them now too.
Oh my God, good. And I'm just like, it was like the most, so lately, whenever I cry, it's more tears of joy and excitement versus tears of sadness. So I was just like, waterworks. Like, this is fucking cool. Sorry, I just totally swore, but it was really, sorry.
It's all good.
So cool. And like, I needed a fuerte word to use. So that was a word. But like the coolest. And so amazing. So that happened. And then, okay, the final story, which is a lot shorter, I promise, is now that I know that I have this group of angels just with me all the time. Okay, so many thoughts, because we'll talk about community later, like in a different podcast, because that's one of the things I am learning, and you too, you're like a huge part of that, because you've taught me from day one, community. But anyway, so the other thing that happened was I moved in here into the place I'm in now. I'm renting right now. And I moved in here, and there were they were painting the outside, and there were a group of Hispanic men, like a ton of them, painting, and they were literally here for what felt like forever, painting. Like there are
You're like, go away.
I mean, there are probably at least 300 units in this development, and so they're painting each one different colors and whatever. But here, for some reason, it felt like it took them forever to finish this one place. And I felt like just coming and going, I had to constantly ask them to move their trucks. And they were super nice, very, very nice. They even helped me move in. Like, they were just here when like moving things, but they wouldn't leave. And so it dawned on me that I was like, so the reason I moved in here was because I had gotten out of this other relationship, and I was having a hard time. It was definitely tough for me. But I realized, oh, these are the physical form people that my angel family sent to protect me. And I'm not kidding you. As soon as I realized this, I asked them, I told them, I'm good. I'm fine. Thank you for sending these people to protect me, but I'm good. And I'm not kidding you. The next day they were gone.
They just evaporated.
They like had finished. They were done. And so it was like, I was like, it was just so, you can't make this stuff up,
You can't make this stuff up.
It was so beautiful. And so you see how there's just this interconnectedness where constant interconnectedness, constant communication, even, and you can choose to tune in or tune out, whatever you want, but it is there for you all the time. I want to hear your thoughts on your thoughts on death, your feelings around it, because I do think that I know it'll resonate with people, showing kind of different ideas of death and where we all are.
Okay, I'm going to bullet point this for you. Okay. Only knowing you has softened it's like a hard, crusty thing that you're putting something moist on. It starts to soften up a little bit, but it's still kind of hard and crusty. I'm a Scorpio. I'm one of those people that's like, there's a side of me that's like, death is not like the deepest, darkest, whatever. I'm like, cool. And then there's this total other side of me that's like, no. And I am like, before my dog died, I worried every day that he was going to die. And then when he died, I was like, oh, I'm always worried about people dying. But not always. But like I'm saying, like, I've been attached. But my grandfather died when I was 6, and he lived with us, so it was harder. And so I think that kind of like, it was a surprise too. One of the, like, we've been through where it's one thing if there's an expectation, but when it's just like boop, then there's a little trauma there of like, okay, death is fine, but don't freaking surprise me. But here's the thing. It's not a surprise. We're all going to die, right? And so I've learned to soften. I think the days that you feel more connected and happy and joyful, you can get into that space. But I would say most of that fear of death is because it taps on the unconscious, not the unconscious, I guess it's unconscious, the ego. It's like, I can't control it. I don't know what it is. It's scary. Everyone says it's bad. It looks bad. It's not good. Like visually, like deaths usually aren't great. so I think it really kicks that unconscious button in the back, and it's just like, be afraid, be very afraid. And you're like, okay. And then also culturally, we're conditioned, at least in America, to this is not a good thing. This isn't like and there's no instruction manual. And, so there's a lot of channelers and people like yourself out there who I think are really helping bridge the connection. But I think until you have your own desire to open up, to be like, okay, universe, I would like to be less afraid of this. I'd like to be more connected. You're not going to have and I think that's a good thing to do, is because you're not going to otherwise, it can't be an intellectual exercise. It has to be a feeling. And because you've had so many experiences, it can now be embodied for you. Just something mental isn't going to change your life. If you're like, okay, I mentally get this, like you have to say, all right, I want to have that connection again. And I freaking talked to your mom.
Yeah.
Like, I just knew it. I was just like, I was listening to I Can See Clearly Now. That was the song. And,
That's awesome.
Like it's got that Jamaican vibe.
Cliff. Oh my
Jimmy
God,
Cliff.
I love Jimmy Cliff.
And there was like these spirits in the back of the car. I could just, talk about like when you get that tingle, I can feel them all now. Like when you get the tingle up your back, and you're just like, you can't fake your body's reaction to that, right? And I was just like, whoa, there's people in here. And so we were all just partying. And then I was like, hey, Erica's mom's here too. She's having fun. And then that's when the feather thing came out. And I was much more open back then. I was talking to like trees and stuff. I was like because I was really open and I wasn't stressed out. Our job at the time, I don't even think we worked. I think mostly it was back in the day when you could kind of just show up at work and feel a little bit. And you hang out with friends. It was a blast. Since then, my life has gotten less like that, I'll say. And so things have been closing. So what this podcast for me, podcast show, video, whatever, is reminding me today is, you can really open up and relax. Again, don't be that laser. That was huge insight, is keep yourself focused on the opening and the relaxing and the joy, and whatever you need will start coming to you, so this has been helpful for me and super fascinating, to just remind myself for that, because then the possibilities are, let's think about it this way. There's this infinity beyond what we can see. How can if I just relax, it's not just people that have passed over, but anything, it's space. With all your connections and all this goodness, like, what are your deep thoughts now that you've kind of like reviewed this whole thing today? Like what's next for you, and what's your next, like, or is there no next? It's just yay. Yeah.
Like, thank you for this. Cause now that I've felt it, getting those goosebumps, it's like, oh, I forgot. I want more. I want to, like, I know that it's always accessible, but I think, especially when I decide to just look at the to-do list and then try to plow through it. And so I go unconscious and I'm like, pushing all of the loving energy that's just waiting for me to tap into it away. I'm reminded now similarly to like, okay, I need to open myself up even more. I want to take that next step, because I know there's always a next step. There's always more. And that's exciting for me, is when I've reached this point. Okay, now I want more communication. I want more signs. I want to develop this language even more. I want, you mentioned the extra dimensionals. I want to reconnect with, those energies. And it's a reminder too for me.
Yeah.
Let's go deeper. Let's go higher.
Yeah, I love it. And also too, you just said something about allowing the loving energies, because you have this, fleet of family members, to someone, let's say, that doesn't, and maybe has one or two family members that passed over or something like that, there's still, say it.
You're so sorry. You say what you're going to say, and I'm going to.
No, you knew where I was headed. So finish.
Oh my gosh. I was going to say that is hugely important to remember, because you don't have to have a dead, someone who's passed on. You can even, like I said in the beginning, even if it's a relationship that ended, that maybe you weren't ready for it to end. Here's an example. The relationship that I got out of a year ago, I realized it ended very abruptly. It ended in a way where, my ex-partner wanted zero communication. It was done, shut the door completely. And for me, I didn't feel like I was able to, I wanted to almost grieve with him. I knew that it was done, but it didn't feel like it. I felt like, oh, what I realized, the wonderful thing about that is that I realized I could connect to his extended version. Like the higher self.
Yeah, the higher self.
The
Yeah.
physical part of him, because we all have that. That's how we are connected. We're in these bodies, but the non-physical part that emanates
beyond the personality.
Beyond the personality, right? Beyond the physical part of who we are. I connected with his non-physical, and that was amazing, and that was so healing. And he's not even, his physical part hasn't even died, or whatever, however you want to call it. Trent. So you're right. We all have experiences of being in a relationship that has ended in a way that maybe we didn't want. And we can connect with the purest part of whatever energy we really loved about the relationship we were in. We always have connection with that. And that's the love that we can hold on to for eternity. Really, really.
Yeah. And well, I was also thinking too, like I have friends that they use maybe spirit guides, or some people are into angels and stuff. And I totally believe it. I just always think of it as just like one big allness. And that, so I'm like, okay, that thing, or it can be individual things, or groups of things, or communities of things, or people that are still living. Like, it can be anything you want. It's just that there is an energy that wants to have a relationship with you. It's not just, okay, go left. Wait, you're doing this wrong. It's not trying to dictate anything to you. It wants a relationship with your, yes. Your face just said there were words waiting to come out. Tell me everything.
Oh my God, I could talk about this all year long. Okay, so because this is like just a small percentage of who we are in totality, what we're really trying to connect with is ourselves. And we all have it. You don't have to even have had one broken relationship to be able to connect with yourself more deeply. And here's why I say that. I realized when I connected to these extra dimensionals that you're referring to, there are three. One is named Boba, one's named Yumi, and my mom is the third that so far I've connected to. And what I realized, because I connected with these energies through meditation, they showed themselves to me, and they kind of, it was really cool. And what I realized was, these are the reason that they feel external, kind of, is because there's such large parts of an aspect of me that my body couldn't possibly contain all of that. So basically, Boba is the sense of humor side of me. And this energy showed itself to me. It was like almost like a Tibetan monk type of, like, this kind of a heavier,
the laughing monk.
The laughing monk, like just a funny, jolly kind of vision of a human form that, just, so loving and fun, just fun and funny. And then Yumi was this kind of smaller, blonde, human looking, non-gender, totally, non-binary type of energy that could fly, and had was dressed in like this really beautiful purple sequin cape. But anyway, they were very vivid things. And Yumi was almost like, interestingly, the part of almost like the core of me. It felt very, very, so just kind of this peaceful, calm, all-knowing. It was like this very just beautiful. My mom represents the fiery side of me. Just kind of like a very strong, tribal. When I say tribal, I mean this loyal, like, this is my tribe. I will protect you to the ends of the earth, like kind of very strong force kind of thing. And anyway, point being, like, but I realized they're not, when I, up until that point, I thought of spirit guides as more of like these things that were external that were helping you through life. And it's like, no, that's me. That's all me. They're just the biggest parts of these one aspects of who I am. And that we all have that. It's just a matter of connecting and really, if you're curious about, learning how to connect with these things, go inside and really just, anyway, I could go
and
on.
It'll show up however. Yeah.
Show. Yeah.
Well, I freaking love this. And this is a great, segue into the, you are the all that is.
Yes.
Right.
Beautiful.
I'm not going to say the G word because that sounds really weird to all of us to say that, but you are that. And how you create your relationship to the allness is in these, it was like these different segments for you. And some people do it. I mean, there's infinite, however it shows up for anybody is how it's supposed to be. It's just like, magic turtles, doesn't matter, just go with it. Right. Yeah. And so, and I think that's what I was alluding to before is like, it's through this process, you're able to connect deeper to yourself and deeper to source energy that is you and is every fiber of all things. And it gets to show up like personalities and people and loved ones and stuff. And that's also true. There's no or. And so I love that there's sort of this merge between like deep spiritual truths and super fun goodness, because that's what we do here at Flow Getter. That's what we do. We do it the best. Because if you're not having fun, you're not flowing. Right?
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. So, yeah. Oh my God, this was so good. Any final thoughts that you want to say today?
I'm going to leave you with the final thoughts. I feel like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was so fun. I want to thank Monday, your entire family, and all the non-physical entities for showing up today on this podcast because it was super fun. So thank you. We can feel you.
I know. I just
blast
again. They're like so happy.
Yeah. I know. It's like it's like you're getting tickled. Fun. It's fun. Yeah. It's like, oh, stop tickling me.
My head is like, wah! It's like, so
yeah. And I know. And it's like we could spend another hour just talking about why do we feel that and all this stuff. So that was just like so fun. And I'm certain we're going to have more of this. So of course, my final thought is everybody's so awesome, whether they're embodied or like on the other side of I'll say a lighter density, because it's really we're just really dense. They're in lighter density. And thank you for all of you, Erica, and all the thing, and the Christmas miracle we had today. And viewers and listeners, we definitely want to hear from you on this topic. Like this is, death and the other side of the non-physical. It touches our lives every day, in every different way. And so we want to hear all of your thoughts about that as relates to what we were talking about, obviously, or not. And we'll obviously be touching on this topic again, but we want to hear from you. So thanks everybody for joining us today. And Erica, as always, a super delicious pleasure. All right, girl. Bye, everybody. Hearts to everyone.